Is being perceived something that you think about? And if so, how do you feel about it? If you are an artist and you are being perceived, what does that elicit in you? How are you being perceived? In what way are you being perceived? And under which circumstances are you being perceived? You probably perceive me or expect me to behave a certain way in this channel. A certain performance is going on this channel, or maybe even in this series, that sets a sort of baseline expectation for you. In the other channel, from video to video, that expectation might shift. Depending on which sets of videos you see, that expectation might shift. You have an idea of a person in their mind. If that idea is shattered, it's quite disorienting, uncomfortable. I remember when I was a kid, I had these YouTubers, Minecraft YouTubers I watched. I remember seeing them when I was like 12 or 13, thinking they were like around my age, and they were like a decade older, or maybe even like 15 years older. And I was really taken aback. I was quite shocked. I was quite off-put. It's just a human being thing. I don't know what else to say about it. It's fascinating, and we should talk more about those kinds of experiences, I think, but it's not something we like. So, how much of yourself do you want to put into your work? In the case of me, I tend to wear, the work that I do tends to wear my face. That's how I conceptualize it. It's my face. I act sometimes, play characters. Sometimes I push more of myself. Sometimes I put less of myself. Sometimes I put somebody else, right? And when we experience modern day stuff on platforms like YouTube, but especially nowadays like TikTok, we just assume everything that gets put on there is a reflection of the artist. I have a bit of a, I have this thought in my mind of like this baker, he comes out with muffins, and he's like, here's the muffins, and you take muffin, you go, good muffin, I'll have another, and then the baker feels good about being a baker. But if you're an artist, the way that manifests instead is like, the guy takes the muffin, he's like, good muffin, and then he's like, I need to check the baker's tweet history. Is the baker a nice guy? Would I go on a date with him? It's that kind of thing. So, how do I become the world's greatest artist? Well, first, you need to ratio these 3 people on twitter.com. So there's a lot of elements that are removed from the actual craftsmanship part. And it's to the point where, you can be the best craftsman in the world, but if you don't have the ability to insert your own ego into it a little bit, your own personality in some way, then you're at like a downside or a detriment. And yeah, I don't really want to comment on the state of that, but you can put less of yourself into your art. I think if you identify too much with it, you kind of get into these weird situations with like YouTubers who have over-identified with their art, and they just act strange. Like, they start to think that they are the person on the screen. And fair enough, it's tough. Like, there's an interplay between you as a person, the characters you play, or the role you play, or even like the side of yourself that you put online. And then there's that, like, there's the interplay between those two sides. That interplay exists. Sometimes it's bigger, sometimes it's smaller, sometimes a clear distinction is made. That's like a boundary. You can set those boundaries for yourself if you're concerned about that. And mostly this is not something you should even bother worrying about until it starts applying to you, and then you can, do whatever you need to do. It might come naturally to you. For me, I find great fun in playing with the idea of me as a person and the art that I do, and doing a lot of interplay between those two bubbles and making those bubbles unclear. I mean, meta-irony, that's the tactic of obfuscating what the underlying message of the art even is. And when you do that, it really makes you wonder, well, what is the artist trying to say? We have this desire. What is the artist trying to say? We want to know what that is. Here's something to think about. I think the worst thing for art is to be understood completely. I think if you completely understand art, it's not very exciting, is it? It's not very evocative. It's not really making you think, or it's not really like pushing your mind in like an interesting direction. It's just like, okay, I get it, And if we fully understand the artist, then we feel like we fully understand the art. that can be a detriment. And I think it's tempting to feed your entire self into the machine, because especially there's like sometimes a hunger for it. There's a want. I need to know the baker's, what does he think about this, huh? I need to know what he thinks about, like this irrelevant like news event. Who was right in the latest drama? I don't know, Baker. You tell me, Baker. The baker just wants to bake, but I just want to bake, for God's sakes. That's not how it works. No room for bakers anymore. So, if you want to be like a faceless YouTuber, right? Those guys exist, or like artists who never show their face. There's musicians, pop artists, singers. They never show their face. But no matter what you do, there's either A, going to be parts of you into the art that you put in, or B, there is going to be perceived parts of you. And being perceived can be uncomfortable, especially if they perceive you wrong. You might see how you're being perceived and you're like, that's wrong. You're perceiving me wrong. And it can be uncomfortable. Like you wanna correct the truth. There's a lot of ways to go about doing that. I mean, you can shape yourself into their perception so that they were wrong when now they're right. Or you can just ignore it. Or you can fight back and battle everybody and say, no, this is how I am. This is how I am. I swear, this is how I am. In terms of how you will act, I can't tell you. I don't even know if you should worry about it. I don't know what you should worry about, but definitely worry. Definitely worry. But like, it can be complicated. And I trust that you'll figure it out. But if you don't, I won't be disappointed.